You're listening to Off Script, a podcast where we pull back the curtain on the world of film, television, and creativity, with a focus on the Southeast film market. I'm Fallon Goodson, and along with my brilliant co-host Sky Lopez, we dive into real conversations with actors, filmmakers, and artists about the craft, the hustle, and the heart behind the work. We're joined today by Kyler Porche, an actor, producer, and fitness guru whose journey blends performance, discipline, and heart. From his early start in modeling and acting classes to building a career in film and television, Kyler shares tips, lessons he's learned on set, and why staying true to yourself matters most. Let's go off script.
All right, everyone, welcome to another episode. And today we have a really awesome guest, Kyler Porche. And not only is he an actor, but he's also a producer and a fitness guru. He's just so multi-talented, and we're just really excited to have him here today.
I like the name fitness guru. That's the new one for me. I wouldn't say it's far-fetched. I like to say that I know what I'm talking about, and I've been in the game long enough to take that label. So yeah, connecting to the acting realm and producing realm, it works pretty well as far as structure and everything goes. You know how with acting, you are completely, in the beginning, typecasted, and it's, oh my God, the complete opposite for me, because they'll be like, all right, fit, handsome, he's a jock. And I get on there, and they're like, okay, he's got a little bit more edge than we expected. So it's like, I look like the jock, the mean boyfriend, and I kind of just went with it with the body as well, too. So it's like, all right, personal training, I'll keep this going, and at the same time, I'll just keep this niche of the good looking or the fit guy or the guy at the pool, all that random stuff, until we start getting into actual real names. I'm like, yes, now we're a true character.
I hate to say it, but sometimes you do get typecast, like we sort of typecasted you as well. But it's a little bit for the Get Down Bro Boys, which is coming out soon.
But like, there's nothing wrong with it though, too, because at least you have something to work off of. You know, if it was a typecast for that role, it's like, all right, this got me in their eyes, so it gets the foot in the door, and then it's my job to be like, no, I do have skills. It's just not the look kind of thing.
I mean, yeah, Kyler is very talented. I want to say that he's such a great actor, and we're really excited. I mean, we wouldn't have casted him in some of our stuff if we didn't think he had the qualities to do the job. So, Kyler, how did you get into acting?
Ooh. Childhood, like everybody else, we always want to become something, and we have such a big imagination. At the time, you never take it as like, oh, can get you somewhere. You can utilize this and, make a living off of it. My mom and dad, at the time, I was like, I don't know why we're doing this, but they just put us in modeling school and some acting classes at John Robert Powers in San Diego. My mom and dad were in the military, so we lived all over the place. And, we're walking the cat, and we're doing our struts and whatnot, popping the hip out, and then walking back, and then doing like these different commercials, running them back and forth, practicing them. And like a small little moment in time there played a big effect on like moving forward. Was I had an audition for, I think it was a Hershey's Kiss commercial or something, and we have to move at the same time. Like it was been 3 years, and then we started moving to New Orleans, and they were like, hey, we like Kyler. We want to move forward with him. We're going to start shooting. And it was like 3 weeks or something like that. And my mom and dad's like, we move in 3 days. So that's not happening. And I was like, okay. So I moved to New Orleans, and I just kind of got out of the acting realm and just lived life, a wild child of, always outside. Remember playing, we called it high school. We used the fences as if they're lockers, and we're gonna have like girls from the neighborhood, and the boys were acting like who's dating and who's not. We just lived it, and really actually got emotional. We're like, all right, this one's gonna break up with this one. You're like, no, why like her? Da, 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 da. It's like, this is how the story's going, man. Like getting into it, and just never lost that enjoyment of creating a world and living life, being a sports head, going into high school. And I was like, I'm not going to college, because I have some reading comprehension problems, learning comprehension problems. I'm dyslexic, a lot of these things that make it really hard to move forward with the classes as fast as everybody else. It takes me longer to understand things. And I didn't feel like doing the special classes anymore. I feel like it would start putting a damper on like self-esteem or who I am. I got tired of always needing help going somewhere. So I was like, nah, I'm going to just restart life and go with something that I feel committed to. And then I'm going to just push it and do everything myself. And that was when I was like, didn't I do the modeling and acting stuff back in the day? I was like, yeah. That was like summer of junior year. And I was like, I'm going to go back to Genre Powers in New Orleans. My mom and dad were like, we don't know if you're going to really stick through that, so let's just see what he does. And I started searching. They accepted me and they were like, okay, you can see that he wants to take it seriously. They helped me out and actually quit football for like 2 weeks in summer because I was like, I had so much acne all over the place. And I was like, sweating is going to be a part of it. So I was like, Dad, I want to quit football so I can start pursuing modeling and stuff. He got so mad. He didn't talk to me for 2 weeks. Like legitimately, like I was like, good morning. I was like, damn. All right. Well, ended up, I got back on the football team. He loved it. I loved it. Best decision I made for it. But anyways, I continued with Genre Powers to do the modeling classes. You have to do acting classes, and getting back into it was scary as hell. Like I'm pretty fair skin over here. So when I get nervous, you can see it when I just go like red, So the first couple of times I had to do a scene in class, it was like just flushed. And I just told myself, I'm not going to quit. I know on the other end of this nervousness, on the other end of the challenge of like trying to comprehend the dialogue from page to reality, that's where I love it. And when I got to that point of not nervous anymore, I get to play, understand it. There's different ways to learn the lines besides just memory. There can be authenticity of emotions. Didn't have any desire to go anywhere else with a career path. I have my health and fitness. That's what keeps my interest going outside of acting because I feel like you need that. You can't just be everything on it. It can put a damper on you, like, should I be doing this and that, whatnot. But you should be doing it when you haven't been doing it. You kind of literally force yourself to do it. That's doing your projects yourself or going to like a smaller role just to feel it, the little ups and downs I'm sure all of us have of, do I want to be in this gig? Should I continue this career? I didn't have any second thoughts for myself after COVID, because during COVID was the perfect time of like, you're going to do whatever interests you because there's nothing else to do. So like after a while of sitting there not being able to do anything, and I was like, I need to do something to creativity or something to expand my mind or give me some stimulation. The first thing I did was like, I'm gonna go look at this monologue book, pick one, and then I'm gonna just start doing monologues. So like doing monologues, I would post them, and then that's when everybody was like, hey, we'll do monologue challenges, commercial challenges, all the cast and directors. So I was like, oh hell yeah. So that right there, I was like, I can't live without it. I'm gonna keep on doing it, whether I get to A star, B, C class, whatever it is, but I'm gonna just keep on going. And yeah, that's kind of how I got into it and continue with it.
Tell us about your favorite role that you've played. I mean, I saw that little clip that you did of in We Have a Ghost, which is so fun and funny. It seemed like you did your own stunts on that as well. Did you?
The kick to the good stuff was me. Yeah. I was in the car and I love doing all my own stunts, and all the other films I did my own stunts except for the driving one on this one. They had like a go-kart connection on top of the car to where he's driving. So like I'm holding on to the steering wheel and they're like, don't turn it because it will catch at some point. So I'm just acting like I'm turning it. This one required you to have to like lightly tap the other car as it came in and smashes. Like they have to come together perfectly just where they tap. They don't mess up the car at all. And we did it probably like 10 times or something like that. But some of the lines were improv though too, so that was fun that they kept them. My favorite one though, surprisingly, and this is weird to say, like one of my favorite ones that I did so far, one because I had more content, I was in more scenes, was American Outlaws on Amazon. And that one was about these siblings, two brothers and one sister. They came, this is a true story, came from a Doherty gang, I think their name is Doherty, came from Florida and just went on a spree of like crimes, going across country, trying to get out of their old life kind of thing. But I like that one a lot because it took a lot of acting structure to it, to where there was a lot on the table. There's a lot of emotions. There are a lot of like dangerous things that you're dealing with in this scene, as far as making it look real, making sure everybody's comfortable on set, and still bringing it without any worries and stuff. So I've had intimate scenes with other people before, and what I like to do is, like, the day before, I'd be like, hey, can we go to get something to eat or this and that one, so we can chop it up, so it's not uncomfortable, or you meet me on the first day, and like before we start shooting. Now this is before they had intimacy coaches. I think this one had an intimacy coach, but before they didn't have any. And I was like, what are you comfortable with? That way I'm not in my head being like, I don't know if I can do this, I don't know if I can do that and everything. So we lay it all out, and it's my favorite because I can just let go and be in this very uncomfortable scenario and play it out the best of my ability to make the audience like feel some type of way. Doing it, you really have to not judge who you are. Like they always say, you don't judge your characters. I had to like make sense of why he was doing it. And that's why I liked it, because of the challenge of this horrific thing. I still have to make choices to myself of why he feels it's okay to do what he's doing. So it's just across the board of the acting challenges it has in there is why I like it.
It's so funny because I think as humans, we always want to make sense of like why someone does a bad thing. And as actors, we kind of get to really dive in the psychology of that, of like why this makes sense to somebody.
Yeah, and you got to bring it to those that, don't see it, or sometimes don't believe how it could happen. With the stunts, which was funny, that scene having stunts, grabbing the crowbar and stuff like that. I love my opposite actress that was playing opposite of me. She was awesome. Stunts probably wasn't on her side. I got hit every single time. Every single time we did it, she'd hit me, whether it was a slap or the thing. And it's like soft. The crowbar was like a soft one, but the slap, she, pop, and we just kept on going through it. I wasn't worried about it. And then we cut. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was like, it's fine. It's probably just going to happen every time. We just keep on going.
I don't think people realize how much actors actually get injured on set, even when there are stunt coordinators. I've been injured a few times. It's wild. I think everyone's like, okay, it's not real, but you can still get hit pretty hard, even if it's, like a soft hit.
You almost died once, Fallon, right?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I got stuck underwater. I was being yanked for a horror film, like continually underwater, and it got stuck. And the safety scuba diver he couldn't figure out where his knife was, cut the rope, and then I like see him fiddling around, and I was like, oh my God.
That's intense. Yep, that's
scary.
And it's just simple stuff like that. And I think if people actually looked up, though, like how many times people actually get hurt on stunts or unfortunately like pass away during, it's a lot more than you think. And I think that actually came up in the last couple of years because of all the incidents that were broadcasted. But there's no joke, especially with just like as easily as the faulty mechanic or fight scenes going haywire. And like I had a big fight scene in Leverage, I think the first season that I was in, and I get tackled through a wall, so they gave me like a spine guard kind of thing. But at the same time, there's like 2x4s all over, and then you have to land a certain way. And it's easily, if you just go with it, assuming that you know how to do it, or you just mess up one little way, you're landing not on the pad, you're landing on cement ground or whatever.
Yeah, and actors, I find it's so unpredictable because you could show an actor exactly what to do, and then they get caught up in the scene and the emotions, and they completely are not on planet Earth. So it's always risky for sure, no matter like how well it's laid out by the stunt coordinator.
Yeah.
It can go haywire.
So a lot of actors, obviously, they get into producing at some point because once you start to see how everything is put together, you're like, okay, I think I want to dip into this. It gives the actor obviously a lot more control, and then they can create their own thing. So what really drew you into creating and producing your own stuff, where at what moment would you say, okay, this is when I was curious and really decided to go for it?
I am one of those actors that didn't want anything to do with the production side. I really thought I am truly happy with just doing the acting. And I was like, there's so much to it, just even the camera side of it. But then you got the grips and the gaffers and the makeup and artist and everything like that. Like when you make your projects, y'all know everything has value. Every position has value. Anyways, my friend Jamar, my brother Jamar Travis, he's one of the best poets in the Southeast region. I'd say, across the country, but we just haven't got there. He go across the country doing spoken word. But me and him, we've been brothers since like 2011 when we went to IPOP. He does all his poetry shows, and he's like, "Hey, I wanna put like visual effects to the poetry, and he wanted to do this like music video." I was like, all right, cool. And I just started giving him ideas. He's like, do you want to help me out? So I was like, yeah, let's make this a little bit more than just a music video. We did a music video, but there's like, we can tell so much more story with this poetry, of like the full growth, specifically the poetry hurt people. And we're like, okay, what about a short film? And we started putting everything together for a short film and like the creative side of it, and we kind of dropped that off and was like, no. We have so much more to tell and more details. And there's more things that need to be spoken on in this manner with poetry, because there's not very much poetry in cinema as far as you got Shakespeare and stuff like that, or people using poetry and using old time poetry in the modern time, but we're implementing more modern poetry, telling a story at the same time. So we're like, hey, let's put a TV show together, and we can tell everything we need to in that span of time. And before you know it, it's just like, all right, it's just me and you. I need to take on this position. I need to take on this position. And I got to take on this position. And it just started getting exciting because I was like, all right, I know from experience on set, like what they do. So I got to figure out what they do in the back before, like pre-filming, pre-production. And after the first episode, I was like, all that was so fun. I was like, I see why people do it now. And I most definitely have no problem doing it. I still want to be in front of the camera. He still wants to be behind the camera. This gives me so much joy and thrill because it meshes it all together to where there has to be structure, because I like structure in my daily life, and like breaking it all down of what needs to be done first. Then you also get the storytelling. And then I love the production side of, I'm talking to the locations, different people, and I'm like, I'm pulling favors, asking here, negotiation side of it too. Cause I like business, that's why I like my fitness companies. I just fell into the joy of the whole process of it. I get the business side and the creativity side, and this just mesh together. I'm not gonna lie, you have a sense of control of the scenario, and that is something that I love.
What do you like about the Southeast market?
Just being home, really, because I go wherever the work goes. I went to California in 2011 to follow the dream, and I started doing good out there. I went from student films to short films to lifetime films. Finally, the industry was popping down here. My agent's like, hey, it's booming down here. It's cheaper. You're home. Come back. So I came back. And when we get the stories that get to tell about New Orleans, that's cool too, because you're like, now you can bring like some authentic stuff about you that you want people to know about New Orleans, about the people, the Southeast region. I like that it was an underdog in the beginning of like starting to develop and everything. And everybody was like, if you want to make it, you have to go to Los Angeles, find talent. And I like Los Angeles. I like living out there. But at the same time, I like the fact that people recognize it was like, no, New Orleans got game too. They got some people out there that know what they're doing, And same thing with Atlanta, same thing with Texas. And they were like, the South got it made, you just got to give them a chance when they do these auditions and they're doing the auditions down here, but that's only because they're supposed to do local auditions first, and then they start picking their people over here. We have a different vibe that comes with us and different characteristics that not everybody has seen. I went to Los Angeles. I'm tooting my own horn, but like I was in those classes, and like yeah, they got skillful people, but like at the same, I thought I was straight, like from the bottom of the barrel. Like I got a lot of shit to learn, but which is true. But when I went into those classes, I was like, oh no. I like challenges, competitive, which is sometimes it's where you have to place it in this industry. You want to be collaborative, but you're um, like the challenge and stuff. But I'm like, I fire everybody out of this room as far as like, I just dog them all out. I had the skill. I was like, oh shit. Okay. I can hang with y'all, I was still learning stuff, but we got something down here in the South, and I'll say New Orleans, specifically, that we can go other places and then be like, oh, that's hot. That's something new to film, that you don't always get to see, because they strive so hard to just get that monotone. Just like we were talking before, they're like, oh, we want the jock. I was like, yeah, you want the jock, but you don't want my jock, because like I was a jock, but at the same time, I wasn't this like clear coat, the everything you think about a jock is, and that's what they try to play in the films. He's a jock, so he does all these things that everybody knows, Oh, he's a gangster, then he does all these specific things. And after a while, it gets old. It's like not everybody in those positions are that type of person.
Yeah, that's very true. And I also feel like, with that being said, it's something I feel like when people go to LA, they're trying to be somebody, but people that are from New Orleans, like this authentic expression that people from here just naturally have, where like people in LA, because the energy is like, oh, I need to be somebody, they're like trying to look for something outside of themselves to be. So their original human expression is like not happening because of that. And then here, obviously, we're just like, be exactly who you want to be. There's something about New Orleans that like breathes that,
Yeah, exactly. I ran into that a lot, specifically like how I would do something completely different than everybody else, which from my manager out there at the time, to the casting directors that I knew that would give me feedback, to just other managers that I had out there when I wasn't out there and I was down here. I get it from a lot of people that have said it, and I've lost myself with what they said was, you say the lines differently, because of my grammar issues and stuff like that. Like how they say it on paper, I don't say it like the text in my manner. And that way, like I'm putting pauses where you wouldn't think there's a pause, but it still makes sense. I'm still getting across the meaning of the statement or how he's feeling, but on a different pathway than other people, of like, where I emphasize a word, where, sometimes I'll flip the words, and it, like I said, it's told differently, but they'll specifically say is like, your audition, you get to the point differently than everybody else. And they're like, it can be a good thing because people are gonna be like, ooh, I like that. It's not like all the other auditions, but at the same time, it could be a con, because they're like, no, we need a little bit more like understanding, like this needs to be said this certain way for the majority to understand it. Going back to, if he's a jock, then the majority needs to understand the jock, so we're going to use what everybody assumes a jock is, kind of thing, So it's pro and con. And then I'll say that with being yourself in New Orleans, it just comes out of you and you just are who you are. I did lose some of that from being in California for a while, and got to this point of, when I'm in front of a certain person, I'm flipping on this act or this persona or whatever. And then I could feel it in the auditions, where I was just like, all right, be as blunt as you can with this. And then you can add a little layer to it. Be blunt about, like, if it says police officer, such and such, or a name, and he's police officer, is like first base, police officer got to be like him, but then put a little sprinkle on it, to where I feel, if you want to stand out, because every star or famous or very skillful actor are liked because, one, their acting skill, but two, who they are as a person. Because no matter what actor you see that person in there. Like you see Denzel Washington in every Denzel Washington film. You know,
Mm.
you see Edward Norton in every Edward Norton film. There's traits of him and how he talks in certain lines, whether he's mad, happy, or whatever. You have a vibe towards his camaraderie or his characteristics, personality that he puts in every character that's in just a different scenario with a different name and everything like that. These are phenomenal actors that can make you believe the scenario that they're in, who they are, but you still gravitate towards them because who they are as a person, how they act. Tom Hardy acts like Tom Hardy in all of his films, but he puts his personality, his person in a world that's completely different in each story that just fits, you know?
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is you need to find yourself again, which I have now, and just be like accepting if I book it, it's because they like the way I did it and who I am, you know, not because I did it exactly what they were looking for. Because if from what I've heard, from a majority of people that I've talked to is directors, and this is true from my end too, is directors and producers, they have an idea, but they don't have the exact look of what they're going for. They have this story, they have this image of this person, but when they see it, they're like, that's it. But that's not the face, that's not the rhythm or the voice that I thought it was gonna be, you know what I mean? But that just hit and that was it, you know?
Yeah, actors have a lot of power. I don't think they realize how much they do have sometimes. They think, I hope they like this. I hope it's what they want. But in reality, yeah, you're right. They're not necessarily set on what they're looking for. They want the actor to show them, actually.
Tom Hanks was talking, I think, at the Red Table or something like that. And I forgot what director he was working with. And he was getting frustrated with all the people on there. And he's like, hey. He's like, you're the actor. I'm the director. Okay. It's your job to learn the lines and come with an idea. And he's like, okay. Or, yeah, understand the text, know the text, come with an idea. And he's like, that's your job. When we do these auditions, it's like they're relying on us to come with that piece that's missing in the project. So you have that strong power in the film because once you book it, I'm not saying, be, an asshole and be like, yeah, I'm the shit. You need me kind of thing, especially depending on the role, the level of the role you're in. But go in there knowing, hey, I'm important here because I have the piece of this puzzle that they need. Whatever they seen in you, they liked you and they want it in that project and they need that to make the whole project. So come knowing that, come confident.
Yeah, definitely. It's so important. You know what actually dawned on me when you were talking about the different roles, how you still see them, like you still see the person in that role. And one thing that will never truly change when you're acting in different roles is your voice, which is your unique signature. Right? No matter what role you're playing in, even if you change an accent, your vibration of your voice is still going to be the signature. And no matter what role or character or even accent, it's still that vibration and frequency that you're putting out into the
Hmm.
world. So it'll always be you no matter what.
I actually took some voice classes because I feel like I lose my voice in certain scenarios. You kind of catch it, I don't know what my natural voice is until I started taking the classes and
Mm,
getting an understanding. It's literally comes down to not even acting, comes into confidence in ourselves.
mhm.
Because if you're always under pressure about something or a scenario, if your voice is not monotone and low, you're going to have it pulled back a little bit and talking in your throat, and I would do this all the time to where I'm like, oh, I'm a little nervous or I don't know the answer to it. So I'm kind of like, I'm talking, but I'm talking like back here because I'm like, but that's trauma stuff. But now I learn just like this is my voice. This is special, and being an actor, you have to let them feel everything and know who you are. So you just push the words and let it push out. And then, yeah, the more and more you get comfortable and grasp all the special things about you, whether it's your personality, your look, your voice, the way you move around, if you can just be okay with all of it, then you'll be one of the best actors out there. You may never hit the top, but if you can just be full confident in every portion of you as far as getting like a dopamine and joy out of acting, that's going to be you because you're going to be enjoying every second. You can be like, I was in it and completely forgot about everything because I accepted everything that I am and I put in the context and there was no hold back of like, how do I look right now? Oh, like, oh, is my voice, did I say that right? You're not holding anything back. You're not thinking about anything of that sort.
Huh.
Yeah, I think you mentioned doing some vocal training. I think that's always so important for actors. If you haven't done vocal training or theater, because both really force you to speak from your gut and learn how to tie in, because truly all the emotions are in your stomach. And what I find is really interesting is when you incorporate like vocal exercises and things before you even go on audition or get to set, it unlocks this whole different emotional range. I think our voices have changed through, decades, and people used to talk a lot differently. And I think a lot of people do, myself included, I have to be wary of how much I talk, like almost where it's at the top of my head. And then when I really ground myself in, I notice I come from the gut more, or, deep down.
Do you go through a vocal practice or anything like that before filming? Like if you're on set, do you
Yeah.
actually start going through a list of things to say?
Yeah, there's a couple of good ones to follow along online, and even laughing, forcing yourself to laugh, loosening those muscles up in your stomach. Sometimes I'll do that in the car if I'm driving to set. If you laugh, even fake crying, all of that loosens up those muscles in your gut. It's so funny. I was working with Doug Spearman the other day. I think he's such
I
a
know, Doug.
fantastic
He's
acting
so
coach.
cool.
He was
I
having
go to.
me he had me he was like, tap me back into all of that, and it was crazy. I just picked up a monologue I'd never worked on. I did it like 5 different ways in 5 different extreme emotions, and it was all from just really reminding myself of how to reground, loosen up, like, stop worrying about whoever's in front of me and what they're getting out of it. But yeah, no, it's so important to reconnect to that. We forget. I mean, I've been trained to do that, and I still forget to do it. I have to
Mm.
constantly work on that and try to make it like working out. I'm sure this is where working out ties into acting. It's such a daily practice. And I got out of that for a while, but now every single day, I don't care if it's for 5 minutes, I work on something. And it makes
Mm,
such a difference in how fast and quickly I can get stuff.
So I studied also in LA at Playhouse West, and
mm.
my acting coach, she would always talk about how some of her best students were these people who played sports, because she's like, they understood discipline. They understood that training, how important training is, because she had some pro athletes, that their career was over and they came and went into acting. And she's like,
Mm.
they were like always the best ones because they would work and work afterwards, because they knew the practice of discipline, really being disciplined with all the different techniques and working. Kobe would talk about this all the time. Like, he would practice harder than all his teammates to the day. He would still, no matter what, practice past when practice was done. Like, he was that dedicated to his sport. And I think there's something really beautiful and, you know, something that I struggle with personally, of,
Hmm.
just always being rededicated to the craft, continuing to say yes. It's kind of like being in a relationship, honestly. Like,
You gotta say
you
yes
have a
every day.
relation, you have to say yes every day, because there will be times where I don't want to put in the effort today. I rather just like do something else completely different, or just sit and relax. And you always have to remind yourself of like, well, do you love this or not? And I'm like, well, I do.
I've started
It's
to do the thing where it's like, they say, just get yourself to the gym or whatever, start the workout at home or whatever it is.
mm,
I was like, Fallon, you work out 5 days a week. So why don't you work out your acting that much? And now I have a deal with myself. If I work my body out, then I have to at least start 5 minutes into doing some kind of acting, something. And then I can
Mhm.
I
quit
like it.
if after 5 minutes. And I always end up doing it for like an hour
But
and a half.
how about I say, but yeah, because it's the starting part of it.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
much as you
Start it.
like acting, you get that script and you're like, I have to learn these lines. I love when I know it. I'll have them to learn. I'm like, golly. I'm like, all right, just
Yeah.
5 minutes or whatever it is, like that. And then once you're like building the character, or like whether it's the production side or whether it's the acting side or anything of the matter, when you start getting into it, now it's like a dopamine effect. It's like, oh, I just needed to
Yeah.
do it real quick. Now I'm stuck in it. Some of my best workouts is like when I'm like, I don't feel like going, but it just embedded in me. I have to go. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get in here. I do my warm up. And after my first exercise, I'm just like, oh, I'm tanked. I'm ready to go now. I'm about to get this done. And I just demolished the workout. It's the best one. And same thing with acting. It's like, if you get a small one, you're like, when I got to find what I can in this whole little story of these 2 pages or 3 pages or something like that. And you first read it down the first time, you're like, just read it. And after you read it the first time, you go to the second time and third time.
Yeah.
And like by the fourth time, you're standing up and you're like going through the whole process and like making your choices and this and that one on. And you're like, man, what'd I just do? What was my moment before, Or like, he's thinking this way because I remember I felt, and then you bring a little of your supplementation in there and you bring a little bit of your real life into it. I like to do that. And then I got to get the clothes. He would wear this. I'm gonna wear this. I'm gonna wear this because this is him. Boom, you feel it. And then, like you said, next thing you know, you're an hour, 2 hours into it and you've just knocked it all out. But I'll also say too, I have to step back. I've learned I got to step back because if I've read it over and over and over again, and then I start to try to like get like the breakdown of the person and build them, my mind is overstimulated. I'm just like, this is just too much. The next day, the lines just come to me like that instead of like me like overly doing them that night before. I wake up the next day and I'm like, oh, it just comes through so much easier.
Yeah.
So breaks do help.
If you put the solid, work in initially, and then you do give it, if you have the luxury of giving it some space to breathe, they do say like, waiting like 24 hours sometimes after you've got the lines in you can be really, really beneficial to the character instead of, just like hitting it over and over and over and over again.
With y'all, do you like the tapes, like videos for auditions, or do you like in person? If you had the option, because right now it's all virtual, but sometimes in person. So you like in person?
1000%, because I don't like being in control. I like producing, but I don't like to be in control of the audition production. I never
Yeah.
loved to take home tests in school. Those drove me nuts. I felt like there was never a cutoff. I like to take the test, turn it in. So I would say the less time my brain has to overanalyze and think, the better in person all the way. And there's that energy. There's something that turns on in me when I'm in the room with
Energy.
someone.
I like the in-person because of what Fallon was talking about, but I like the tape because of the ease of just turning in a tape. You know what I mean? It's like I go in there, I have a reader, we shoot it, blah blah blah. I get to look at it to see like, oh, well, maybe I didn't like my eyeline there. The fact that there's sometimes you get the option of that, and then just uploading it and like I'm like, all right, it's off. I release this completely. But the energy of being like in the waiting room, oh my gosh, I get so nervous, y'all. Like I'm in the waiting room and I'm just like running the lines in my head as a different layer, obviously, than just being like, all right, I'm going to tape now, blah, blah, blah. There's more casualness to it, which sometimes works in my favor. And then sometimes the nerves in a waiting room before going into the audition also works in my favor. So it really depends on my mood, I guess.
Yeah, I like in person because of the energy, because it's wild to think. Like I've gone through it, I've done the lines or whatever like that, and then if I'm in the waiting room, which I stopped doing while I was in the waiting room, I would always like think about the lines, like, oh shit, what was that? And it's like now I just put myself under pressure because I'm in the waiting room and I'm about to go in and I should know that. So that's like I'm like, I'll put music on. I won't even think about the audition unless I have to be deep down, or I'll think about the scenario. I'll be in the scenario, but listening to music. This guy is listening to music, whoever's about to walk in, because I can't overanalyze it. Because when I walk in, an energy happens and it just comes out. And I'm just like, yes, that. And then another reason why I like in person is like you get direction. Especially if the casting director is like cool and they want to they like what you have and they're like, oh, but I know going through this, they're asking for this and the third specifically. I can take direction off a switch, be like, all right, you're going to go this way with it. Cool. With tapes, it's like we can do them all different type of ways. And you sit in there and then they're just like, no, I was like, I like his look. I like, but he just wasn't hitting the nail on the head. Well, if he were in person, you could tell me what it was and I could probably get that, but I don't know if this is, and I always was curious from other people if they know the answer or not, or if they think this way too. It's just like, if we're only sending in tapes and in auditions, we were able to get direction, I feel like they should be able to bring in more callbacks because they're like, like their roster of possibilities are bigger because some people were hitting it and they just needed a little direction, then it's just like bring them in and then see if they got it. I feel like they should have more callbacks because of the tapes to where I can't hear what you want and I could easily put it on. Going back to what they want. So yeah, it's a double-bladed sword.
Yeah, the battle of the waiting room. What I used to do when I was doing more in-person auditions was I would bring an activity for the character. Once I brought out a coloring book because I was playing someone who just needed to be like more physically grounded, and I was in the waiting room just like coloring with markers, and like and
That's
people were like,
smart.
What the hell is she doing?" But
I love that.
it takes you out of your head because at that point, if it's not in you in some way,
Yeah. I just still get nervous no matter what, even if I felt like the character was in me. Like I was just a wreck.
the best actors throw up before they go on stage when they
Oh, yeah.
perform.
That's me. Like I have so much performance anxiety. Like it's crazy.
When I first started acting, I did like background work and stand-in work on 21 Jump Street. And it was Dave Franco when he was on there. I've seen him before the scene they were getting the limo and it was in the studio. He's behind the curtain and I'm just like curious. So I'm like looking around and I like peek over and he's behind the curtain and he's just like slinging his arms. He's like getting himself pumped up and just like doing this wild shit, you know, and you're like, and that's one of those things that, you know, how you get experiences from sad or life experiences that just stick with you. It's okay to do whatever you got to do to get where you need to go. And if everybody on set and in the room, they just get it, then you should have no problem just doing it. And there's no questions asked. Like if I walk into the audition room, I mean, you should do this before the audition, obviously. But if I'm in the hallway with everybody else and like, I just got to be like, you know, stretching your face out and stuff like that. You should know everybody's like, you shouldn't worry about it because it's like, this is what I do to get where I need to go. That's going to get this audition.
It was like a lot of dialogue. It was an in-person, it was a theater audition. And I know that I needed to have a sense of kind of like, but I didn't want to be from my own nerves. So I straight up in the New Orleans heat ran down magazine around the block in a neighborhood, went into the audition, a little sweaty. I needed to get out of my body a little bit. So I had a backpack on. I was like, I don't care who sees me.
That's the perfect way to do it. You get like the heart racing, your nerves are because your mental state is not at the level of your body functionality right now. So if you start running, your mind's like, I'm running, my levels should be high. Then it's just like, oh, I'm not panicked right now because now we're on an even plane of like my heart rate's fast and I know why it's fast, you know?
Yeah. The physicality really helps. I would agree with that. It really helps with just
I'm going to steal that.
shaking.
I'm just going to block every time.
Well, Kyler, it was such a pleasure talking to you today and talking acting, producing, all the things. And we're so excited to work with you soon. It was just so nice to get to sit down with you and chat about all this stuff. So thank you so much for coming on today. And we look forward to hearing what's to come. Is there like a social you want to drop or a place where people can follow you and keep up with what you're doing?
Yeah, you can do Kyler_Porche for Instagram. Also Instagram, you know, for the fitness company, Fit on Purpose as well too. But yeah, that's about it. I'm really excited for working with y'all because of it being a comedy and it's like letting loose and it's a pretty funny outfit that I'll be wearing majority of the time. But no, I'm thoroughly excited to work with like-minded individuals. I enjoy working with those that are climbing at the same time as me, whether they're a little bit higher, a little bit lower, or even playing field, than the big films sometimes. You know, like Warner Brothers, and you just have the small role and you get on there and you're like, oh, cool, I enjoyed that. But like when you work with people that are like building something as well too, and like you get to be a part of that, you're like, oh yeah, let's do this damn thing. It's like I'm working on this part. I feel like a team player, you know, on there, I feel like just a spot, you know, the big one. So I need to work on that. It's just knowing I'm a team player. But yeah, I'm really excited to work on this one with y'all.
It's always super fun. And for those of you who are wondering what Kyler is going to be working on with us, is he is one of the Get Down Bro Boys in our mixed media experimental content that we're going to be creating. So stay tuned for that. So thank you.
Thank y'all.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like, review, and subscribe. It helps more than you know. Thanks for listening to Off Script, and until next time, keep dreaming big and making bold moves.